from Silicon Zombies. We're here with Curtis Cook at the Punchline Comedy Club. Super psyched to be talking all things global climate sustainability and hosted by the marvelous Nikki Gassnell. So, Curtis, so glad to have you here and awesome talk that you just had on stage.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
For sure. So you're supporting the venue and supporting the community here, which is super. I'm very grateful for that. But it sounds like maybe the sustainability space is kind of something new for you. You're from Texas originally.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from a very rural town in South Texas where you had one garbage bag that you took down to the street. A guy came on a truck and threw it in the back and took it to a landfill. And that's where I grew up thinking until I moved to California. And in Tahoe, rural California, there were 3 bins and there was a gentleman that would stand there and make sure that you put each thing in the right bin, which at the time I really appreciated because I had no idea what went where.
Yeah. And what happens if you threw it in the wrong one? Would you get like smacked or like
I'm sure they
give you a ticket?
Yeah, I mean, Tahoe, they're very, keep Tahoe blue. It's a big thing there. They're very about the community and environment there.
Yeah. It also feels, so like Texas and California, maybe politically on pretty different spectrums. But maybe in the last 10, 20 years, I feel like we've learned a lot, like impact wise. So like culturally, but also feels like, everybody, like the tide is rising for, wanting to take care of there's no planet B, right? Isn't that what Nikki says?
Exactly. Yeah, there is no planet B. And I mean, we want to have somewhere to live until we die, and then for our family and our aunts, everyone to continue to grow. And we don't want to have to fly to Mars and find water and do all these things that we're trying to do. We want to be able to stay right here and live in this beautiful planet. Yeah,
and make it better. I love how you put that. I heard not too long ago that it's a good idea to plant seeds that will grow into trees that will never see the shade. Which is, it's almost like you want to take care of the next generation and be good to other folks.
That's about sustainability. You want it to be sustainable, so it's there for the next generation.
Yeah, and host all sorts of cool parties. Shout out to our friend Kendra.
Yeah, hey, Kendra.
She's here too. So it's really nice to see all sorts of friendly faces and seeing new technologies that are pushing, moving the ball down the field so we can make money, but also have a good impact.
Yeah, one of the people here, Johanna, who has Enviro AI, they're actually doing a sample for Punchline where they input, and she talked about this on the panel, different data points like waste usage and stuff, and it tells you basically where your biggest impact can be made on your carbon footprint.
Okay.
And so it's really cool, and it's just stuff like trash, energy usage, how long it's open, and then it compares you comparably to other venues and stuff like that. And you're really able to understand.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, it's Sue new. It's her startup.
It kind of makes me think of like a total cost of ownership, but instead of a product, it's like the total cost of impact.
Oh yeah.
A TCI report.
I mean, it's basically a calculator for how good or bad you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's great. You need that tool in order to understand where you can start to make your change.
Yeah. And I think so many times it's like folks just don't really realize there's an alternative. We were talking to Rob Lau earlier, who's here today, and he was saying that that food waste was one of the biggest, even more so than cow burps or whatever, which is a lot of methane and CO2 into the environment. So I mean, I don't know. When you see all sorts of food getting thrown away, it's how can we fix that? There's got to be a better way.
Yeah, I mean, and Tommy, who's with Foxtail and Fireside, mentioned on this before. And living in San Francisco, we're lucky because there are so many organizations available that you can just call, and they'll come and they'll pick up the food after. Yeah. Obviously, any food that's already been put out cannot go to anyone because it's a health hazard. You don't know how safe it is. But food that's been stored and hasn't been used can be easily donated to food banks or homeless shelters so that people can eat it now, as opposed to just throwing it away.
What about, so I'm thinking before the food gets put out, maybe instead of putting everything out, it can be put out in sections.
Well, I mean, that's typically what happens. You typically wait till it gets 3/4 empty, and then you would switch it out.
I see.
And that's typically how it works, because from a client or guest perspective, you don't ever want to have to be waiting for food.
Yeah.
And you don't want to run out of food.
That's true.
So when it comes to catering and event space, you have to make over what you're making. I mean, ideally you get an exact guest count and everyone chooses what they want in advance.
But how often does it work out?
It doesn't.
So cleanly like that.
And then even if it does, sometimes they'll see another thing. I'm like, oh, I actually want that. That looks better.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to manage the expectations of the guests and the client.
Yeah, it's like a fine line to balance.
It absolutely is.
I heard you mention on stage, Curtis, something about the hotel space. Did you come from that world, or do you have some kind of friends adjacent in the space? Or?
Yeah, I used to work in hospitality. I started my hospitality career at the Ritz-Carlton Lake Tahoe, where I was a banquet manager and ran their fine dining restaurant, and then transferred here to the W, where I ran the food and beverage program.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you know the space.
I do. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, they did go on strike when I worked there, so that was a very interesting time.
Not because of you, though.
No. Because of the union. I'm just kidding. No, they really needed some wage increases and things of that nature.
Sure.
So of course that takes time to iron out. But
of course.
But yeah, it definitely also taught me a lot because I never really dealt with the waste of the hotels.
Yeah.
You know, I was a manager. Other people did that. But then when you're the one making the beds and doing the buffet because there's no servers there, you're really understanding, oh, breaking down these boxes is time consuming.
Yeah.
But it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, then the people can't come take it away.
Yeah.
So
it's like boots on the ground. It's like you gotta.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So, Curtis, thank you so much for hopping on Zombies, where we get to demystify emerging tech and bring the community together. Is there a website, or maybe can you spell your name for the folks so they can connect with you on LinkedIn, or what's best for you here?
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. Curtis, Curtis, last name Cook, Cook. I think it's Curtis Cook 16 on LinkedIn. But also you can, I work with Live Nation, so Curtis Cook at livenation.com, or you can check out livenationspecialevents.com and check out all of our venues.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Curtis. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Okay, cheers.
Thank you.
Welcome to Silicon Zombies, where we bring you the best brains from the Bay.
I'm beyond.
Yay, there we go. We got fans off stage here. So, Matt, welcome to the show. Excited to see you here.
Same here.
So, it's been a while since we've had a chance to catch up. You've been doing big stuff. Help us understand what you're working on now, and also what brings you to the sustainability conference hosted by Nikki Gastineau today.
Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, thank you. Excited to be here today. So my name is Matt. And I was living around the world for 10 years, building different businesses in like import, export, tourism, equipment manufacturing, and just came back here around 2 years ago now.
Cool.
And started scaling different businesses where we scale sales, scaling seeds. And one of my clients, we decided to get into business together, and we now provide carbon neutral solutions to include those solutions into every business transaction.
Wow. So this is kind of a perfect place for you. So you had a suite of customers, like portfolio, and one of them says, "No, we want you full time." That means you're doing great work for them. What help us understand what were some of the challenges that they first had, and then how you helped them overcome those challenges.
Yeah, so they work in nature-based solutions, and they're trying to get into the travel market and also the events market. Also, they're based out of India and have business development in Ethiopia.
Wow.
And so I was kind of a window to open opportunities here in the United States. And also because I own a travel company, it was kind of an easy, natural segue.
How cool. You know what? When I look back at some of the wins for myself personally, it's almost like very similarly building a bridge between folks that are outside of the Bay and that want to learn more just about how we do business, what the energy is like here in beautiful San Francisco. In fact, we're looking at right next to the Transamerica Pyramid, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And then also just like relationships, like how can you facilitate introductions to do business and help grow and all the rest. So it sounds like you've been doing great work for them.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice. Excellent. So out of the talks that you've seen today, what have been some of the more scintillating, innovative approaches? Or, I mean, I guess we're still pretty early on in the day, so we're going to have some other good stuff here too. But what kind of cool tech are you seeing that's making the planet a healthier place?
Well, I see the way that there's always the big talk on AI and how AI is going to create a lot of innovation in the space, but also what people are doing with concrete now sounds super interesting.
Wow. Okay.
But also you've got the challenge, especially with now changes that are occurring in different governments, where less public funding is going to be available for this space, where you need really trillions of dollars over the next couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah, at the same time, that really presents a huge opportunity to leverage private capital. And that's where I see this space.
The market's shifting.
The market's shifting and it becoming almost an opportunity for explosive growth.
Wow. So you're talking about probably specifically USAID and some of like these larger government organizations that have kind of dried up. So you think the market will shift towards private dollars?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good thing overall because it'll require greater return or greater utility. Like if my understanding is that when you get a government check, a lot of times there's little to no oversight, and you just keep getting it if you keep applying for it, as opposed to private dollars saying we're going to fund this, but you have to do it well. And so maybe there's like more fruit that comes from that. How are you thinking about these two different dynamics, Matt?
Well, I mean, you have the whole, I've worked in the nonprofit sector, I've worked in the government sector, I've worked in the private sector. And so the private sector, I just think is the way to go. That's the way that you're able to, like you mentioned, incentivize people to improve their business systems through actual results, as opposed to like concepts or the concept of impact. Sometimes impact is improved just by having when you can recognize that impact and the bottom line are improving at the same time, you're incentivizing those private investors, which is incentivizing entrepreneurs to come up with more innovative ideas, and it really just improves the overall economy.
It's like a flywheel. I mean, this is a tricky question, but how do you think we can improve incentivization at the government level, since you have some experience in the space?
It's getting over that valley of death. And how can you sort of create an ecosystem where you have government entities, nonprofits, and the private sector all working cohesively to produce like incubators or accelerators that are all aligned in the same interest?
Wow, beautifully put and very eloquent. I love how it's definitely like an ecosystem play, because when there's markets love consistency and they don't like volatility, which is one of the reasons I think we're in a better long-term position than China, is because the state is pretty well entrenched. Like for example, if there's a Chinese company that's buying like the H200s, I think it's the A200s from NVIDIA, you don't know, is it a private business or is it the government? But I feel like the US is pretty good at keeping those two things separate, which makes for more transparency or more consistent expectations. And what are your thoughts? Yeah, we're not live, so don't worry. We'll cut this part out. China's not coming after you.
So
we're gonna send this directly to Xi. Anyway, yeah, Xi.
So the question is, how do you improve? Is transparency a good thing?
Well, yeah, I would largely think so, but I guess it was kind of more of a commentary on the difference between China and the US, and like how they kind of fundamentally are quite different.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was in Switzerland a couple of weeks ago visiting a guy that he has a deep tech startup where the funding is coming from the Chinese government, and you've got so much funding from the government being pushed into the entrepreneurial space. I see that as like almost...
Oh, like saturated?
No, it's a competitive advantage compared to the United States. Or like, I was speaking with an individual last night where you've got like the military in Israel where they build up the different individuals, where you've got all the highest performers in software, all the highest performers in operations, and they build a relationship with each other for 4 or 5 years, then come out and then they develop or immediately are able to enter into an entrepreneurial ecosystem. I think the US could, by working more cohesively within public-private partnerships, that's the key word, that could make things more successful.
Yeah, very well put. Very well put. It's a sticky question, right? It's like on items of national security, like steel or aluminum or chip fabrication. We want to keep those probably sole and separate, but also free trade is a good thing too. So, yeah. Man, we got deep.
Have you heard this one? So, and I don't know if you want. So, I've got this one guy who just contacted me. They're trying to get, because all the challenges with tariffs, they're trying to get on a monthly basis 100 shipping containers of chicken feet, 100 shipping containers of pig feet, and 100 shipping containers of tripe sent over to China.
Wow.
So if you
got a chicken feet guy?
Yeah, well, if you figure that one out, you've got a couple $1 million coming your way. So
okay. Let's talk.
Shout out to the audience for that one.
Yeah. Thanks to my brother from another mother right here, Matt. Great to see you. And is there a website that you'd like to share with the zombie audience here?
Scalingseeds.com, but our new startup is called Carbinovate.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, awesome. Good to see you. Cheers, man. Thank you. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Silicon Zombies, where we bring you the best brains from the Bay Beyond. We've got Eve Simon here. Great to see you, Eve.
Good to see
Long
you.
time friend.
I love it
Yeah.
to see you again.
So, Eve, you've got a really cool background building bridges with Europe and the US, and you took a trip for a while. Now you're back. How would you say the vibe has changed in these different chapters?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was running into you today, I thought about it. 2019 was the last time, and it was right before COVID. But I think it was not just COVID which changed, but the whole global context changed. And when I think about the Bay Area, I always felt everyone is open, everyone is invited, and also has so many ideas, and you ping pong ideas.
Sure.
And since COVID, even we are open again, I feel it draw a little back,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
You're more in the cliques, you're more in your own community, and it's not that diverse anymore. So you
Interesting.
really have to know someone to get the right event, to get the right person to talk to. Even we have, Tinder Business or whatever we can cool use here, which we don't use much in Europe. But there definitely shifted an openness.
I see.
I would say.
Well, misfortune breeds opportunity. So a chance to improve things, and when you hear me, or when I hear you say that, it's a little disappointing, just because I feel like it's the diversity of ideas and that psychological trust that can get us to come up with outside the box ideas that really kind of push the envelope for innovation. But maybe that just means that there's an opportunity to create this kind of holistic, open environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually thought a lot about this because this week I was leading someone through Silicon Valley here and introduced them to the spirit. And what we really analyzed was that we innovate often out of the same consciousness before. Like, let's say Waymo, right? The Waymo taxi. It still has a steering wheel. Why it has still a steering wheel? Because we built the technology on the Jaguar or whatever existing car, instead of creating something totally new. And also, I feel that the little divisions, niches or so, coming so much close together instead of opening up. On the other hand, I also feel, and that was always the Bay Area, it's like a phoenix out of the ash.
Ooh, I like that.
And in Europe, we hear a lot, it's so awful here, and we have so many homeless people, and we do. But we also do have a lot of homeless people in Düsseldorf, where I come from, or in Vienna, or in Barcelona. We always have these problems. They're coming more because everything which is here comes to Europe, and then it goes to the rest of the world. It was always a cycle of innovation.
Like a leading indicator of sorts.
But I feel there's something, underneath, like a volcano coming up, that we rethink how we really deal with these problems. So I'm just really my antenna is very high to see what we are coming up with now here in Silicon Valley and San Francisco. And I'm not so worried about San Francisco. I'm more worried about, as an example, Germany, because we are not as fast in change.
Do you think that the rest of the world might adopt that speed to innovation because it's going to be more and more important to kind of keep up?
I think we have pockets, right? Lisbon is great, Berlin is great, Tel Aviv, of course, even Dubai, and of course when you go to China anyway. But the Germans are still a little bit slower in the way. But on the other hand, I also feel there's something positive in it, because right now it's all about the hype of AI, and it's great. And I mean, I have to say, I'm like, oh my God, I'm on fire to try every day another tool and so on. It's cool. But for what, right? What's the why we even use that? And sometimes it's good to just first observe and then rather find a solution for the real problem, or questioning if that's the real problem, and thinking more in a social context than for the heck of innovation.
Sure. Like the
Because-
potential ramifications and
I mean, with tech and with innovation and with quantum computers, we can do everything,
Yeah.
right? We have the resource, we have the mind, we have the money, everything. But what are we doing? You know, we
Yeah.
are at a climate conference and we still have plastic flying around right and left. You know, it's like
but at least the food is healthy, you know?
the
And-
food is healthy, but that's not enough, right? Why you give out containers you throw away instead of just having a mug you can, you know, wash?
Yeah, so you know, it's interesting. I do feel like we're in this kind of unique channel of growth and innovation. And Eric Schmidt, who took Google from like 100 million to $100 billion run rate, he was saying that I think it's like in the next 6 to 12 months, the majority of code is going to be written by AI. And so even in the last couple of weeks, there's been some interesting integrations, like Lovable, which is essentially like a chatbot for user interface, has now a native integration with it's a database, something Uber-based or something like that. Essentially, it's like database management. So you can create a web or mobile app with natural language, which is like just so crazy to me. It feels to me like the gap is getting smaller and smaller to be able to have a relationship with code if you don't know how to actually, if you're not technical.
I know.
What kind of impact is that going to have, do you think?
And I think it goes further, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who fall in love with chat, right? Because we are isolated and suddenly our best partner we talk to is not our partner anymore. It's chat, right? And
It's just one modality.
it understands us so well. But I also feel, especially today, I thought I met a lot of lawyers and it's all about patent. And I feel AI can only really flourish when we solve the boundaries of data. If we are not really opening up our data and just still live in our cocon, nothing will change. I mean, maybe I'm too hopeful and too ideological in some ways.
Let me ask you about that, Eve. So,
Yeah.
how do you feel about if all IP was essentially like made null?
Yeah.
Like, so for example, there's a variety of companies that say they're open, but once you get to a certain usage, you get locked in, and it's a way to sort of be open but not. But then you look at DeepSeek in China, and there almost seems to be like running away with it. And then of course there's innovation and competition there too. What would happen if we just got rid of all IP? Do you think that would take mud off the racetrack?
I think we would really create something which works for everyone, right?
Yeah.
For the planet, for us as human beings, for a flourishing whole. Obviously, there needs to be a different mindset, right? We as human beings are often driven by an ego, out of fear, out of protection. And if we don't hack ourselves first, right, re-engineer in the way how we are socialized, that probably will not work because some people take advantage of the openness of others.
Yeah.
As we see in Auroville as an example, right? India, where everything is around sharing, it doesn't work. Or even Burning Man are typical examples of sharing, and they're still, right?
Have you been to Burning Man?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll save that for part 2.
Lots of edges.
Yeah.
But I actually really, really do hope that we are getting there. Let's say we want to protect or see what weather patterns are coming, right? And right now we have a lot of floods, we have a lot of fires everywhere in the world. If we would have all the data around the world, we could learn much more about weather patterns.
Yeah.
And then be more prepared for whatever comes. And in this way, also more in sync, where we build homes, where we interfere with nature.
I'm a techno-optimist, though. Like, I think, tech can solve some of these challenges. My friend Holly Donnell, who actually connected us to Dan Lurie, mayor of San Francisco, who was on the show not too long ago, is working with a company that has an innovation in material sciences to make houses not burn. Yeah. And it's really kind of an interesting approach using concrete and air pockets, and it can sustain, I think, like 500 degrees for like 10 hours or something crazy. So I don't know. I'm bullish. I feel like a lot of these existential threats can be solved using material sciences. And
I feel the same way. I think tech is really amazing. AI is amazing. Our brains and our collective is amazing. And nature is amazing because if you look
Nature
at
is
Lahaina, the fires in Maui as an example, the homes who survived had two things. They had often solar roofs or tin roofs, and they were surrounded by specific trees which protected
Was
them
it
because they
onion trees? Or?
not banyan trees. I think it was a direction of a magnolia tree,
Wow.
but
Okay.
I don't want to talk about something I don't know.
Sure. No.
But that was very interesting what we can learn there because on one hand it's a material, right? On the other hand, it's nature itself.
Yeah.
Keeps us protected.
Yeah. Hey, you know, speaking of which, Tom just gave an amazing talk inside, Tom Chi, and he was talking about I unfortunately just caught the tail end of it, but it seemed to be that working with nature could have much greater ROI than just kind of like these kind of current disastrous effects, right?
I mean, nature is everything, right?
Yeah.
Me as a woman, I'm a full nature, right?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
the
right.
creator of the future.
Yeah.
As all women are, and if we are in sync with that, and if we protect our nature and treat it well,
Yeah.
it will protect us. It's not the one way; it's both ways. And at the end,
I love how your mind works. And this is probably why you have such a good foundation to lead a think tank.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe you could share a little bit about what you've been building in that capacity.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm running a think tank in Germany. It's called the Future of Leadership Salon, and it started in 2018, all built on the consciousness movement, conscious capitalism. Then we went into regenerative leadership, into why we need more mothers in leadership roles and what impact that could have. And right now it's all about AI. So we trigger everything. But one thing about this think tank, it's always human-centered because leadership is actually very personal. It's a people business. It's not a business of anything else. If you're not really in sync with each other, with yourself, with social impacts, you miss your job.
Yeah, exactly. You get left behind. It's kind of like the ultimate irony. It's like the more and more that tech becomes center, the more important it is to be able to retain good connection and emotional intelligence and community. And sometimes that can almost feel like trite just because it's said so often, but it's going to become more and more important.
Yeah,
right?
especially now with AI, right? Our cognitive brain works so far and it will be replaced pretty much through AI. So what is with the rest of our intelligences? Our body, our emotions, our heart, even Jack Ma talks about that. And our social, and some people even talk about the spiritual cosmic. Gopi Ganar from Google, right? He talks a lot about the cosmic intelligence, which I love.
Wow. Cosmic intelligence. That sounds like a good book.
Yeah, you definitely have to talk with him. And have him
let's get Gopi. If you're watching this, come on, zombies.
Yeah.
So, Eve, thank you so much. Is there like a website, or how can folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. On LinkedIn, Eve Simon, I'm available. Pick my brain anytime, love to connect. And also the website is called thefutureofleadership.salon. And very soon we're going to publish the last research. And I hope that you take a moment to not just digest as an entertainment, but really think about it and take action.
Yeah, and go clean up the environment with Eve and her friends. California Coastal Cleanup too. This is good stuff.
Right.
Thanks so much, Eve.
Thank you so
Great
much,
to see you.
Nick.
Okay.
Great.
Cheers. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Silicon Zombies, where we bring you the best brains from the Bitty Beyond. And we've got Michael from Treeable. Michael, great to have you here.
Likewise.
Yeah, and we're hanging out at Nikki Gassnell's the Climate Tech Summit, Global Climate Solutions. So it's like we got community, we got people, we got Fiona Ma just spoke. You were one of the keynotes earlier today.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about why you're jazzed to be here.
Well, it's just super happy to be in the middle of innovation, and at the end of Climate Week, we're in a rough time right now, and everybody is holding together and still fighting that good fight.
Batten down the hatches, but the good news is problems means we can fix them, or there's something to overcome, right? And it seems to be maybe like the fires in down in the Palisades. That's certainly a unique challenge to address. With your background, you've done a lot of tree search, pardon the pun.
Yeah, it wasn't the flames that shocked me the most. It was really that all those properties had that many unmanaged trees. And then when you really dive in further, is that the property owners and managers weren't aware of that the trees needed to be managed.
Yeah.
And this goes into a much bigger problem that the lack of data around trees at a global level has just never really been there
Okay.
to leverage.
Is it an education thing, or is it just like a lack of oversight or management?
Yeah, I think overall it's a literacy issue,
Okay.
right? And then if you kind of step back, like you have 3 trillion trees on Earth. There's approximately 100 to 300 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
Wow.
But then go drop down. We
Yeah,
have
that's crazy.
30,000 certified arborists. So that's like a net delta of billions of trees per arborist. And so there's no way that an arborist or our group of arborists that are educated and trained to do risk assessments, diagnose diseases, create soil treatments, to manage that.
Yeah.
Or even be able to capture that data. Even if all the humans in the world went out to do that, we wouldn't be able to. So we're really motivated in seeing how AI can solve that problem at scale.
And does that mean like IoT, kind of like, do you want to put all the trees on the network?
No, I actually think that's egregious. Though I really support IoT devices, but
not IO tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I think the solution is really enrich data sets, what we're doing from the ground level, and then training models to leverage data from space so that we can create digital twins of trees that would essentially output, just think of it like a virtual arborist. In a
Wow.
sense. Yeah.
So I've got a friend, Johannes Kastner, who lives in Germany. He created a company called Collective Intelligence. He's a pretty wild statistician, and he said he came up with this one idea to have a camera in different parts of the forest, and it could basically gamify and reward when it was healthy, like teeming with natural life and all sorts of, which I feel is like kind of like a bit of you're going in the opposite direction with where you like keep nature natural kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But it also feels like the challenge as a whole does need to be addressed. Like, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that Treeable solves?
Well, to piggyback on what you were just saying, what comes to mind is this idea of plant blindness, and that this is a disease that all humans, or I'll say most humans, suffer from, especially children, that we are not aware of the benefits that nature gives us. And then how do we...
Even in your home.
Well, it depends on, how good of a green thumb you got.
Yeah.
Although, keeping plants alive can be kind of hard. But, I think I love the idea of a gamified environment. We're playing around some ideas with some of the conservancy parks that we're working with right now about, taking the geodata of each of the trees that we have, putting that on an app so that the public can walk around and learn about the trees, but they're also enriching our learning models at the same time, almost like this Pokemon Go environment.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
I think the more that we train these models, and the second part of your question is just like, what are the challenges? Is, well, the data sets have never really been there.
Yeah.
So we have to go out and capture that data in order for the training models to work really well, so that we can output those solutions at scale.
Sure.
Where I think a lot of, if we look at other generative AI solutions, that there are really good data sets to learn from. We haven't been spending the past 50 years walking around tagging every single tree and saying, this tree is dead, this tree has this disease, this is a building clearance tree, etc.
I could see that having some positive implications for viticulture and wineries too.
It's so funny that you mentioned that. I was having that conversation a couple of days ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So maybe if folks wanted to learn more, what's a good website for them to check out? Or
Yeah, I'd say find us on LinkedIn right now. We're actually teeing up for our official launch. We've been in embargo for a little while. Our legacy company is Peachtree Arborists. It's been around for 13 years, and Treeable's our spin out. But we're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Michael Orm. We do have a LinkedIn presence right now, and then the website will be officially launching over the next month or so. But we and in stealth, we've did almost $2 million in revenue last year. So
Wow,
pretty
amazing.
exciting.
So perfect. I was going to say passion and profits. It's like a portmanteau. But anyways,
Yeah, man.
Michael, thank you for
Cheers.
for Treeable and getting to the root of the problem.
Hey.
All right, learn more. Welcome everybody to Silicon Zombies, where we bring you the best brains from the Bay to beyond. We've got Eli Wang from Besmo, who's building an amazing piece of robotics and helping the environment too. So welcome Eli to the show.
Thanks, Nick, for inviting me here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So grateful that Nikki hosted this awesome event today, the Global Climate Innovation Summit. So tell us a little bit about what excited you to come meet this group of investors and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's very exciting for me to come here. We are doing the robotic lawnmower best mow. It's using the clean energy, long battery power. Yeah, I think it will have a great impact on the climate change. Yeah, because if people get rid of the gas-powered mower and more people adopt our robotic lawnmower, yeah, so it will that will be great for the climate.
Eli, I have a question for you. Have you considered getting some kind of carbon credits or some kind of tax benefit from the government because you're actually making the planet healthier?
Yeah,
Is that a crazy idea, or?
I'm thinking about that. Maybe we can also take advantage of Web3 technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would that work?
Yeah, maybe if people maybe we will count the time people using our mower. Yeah, and compare with because people will mow every week, right? They can use our robot lawnmower instead of using the gas power mower. So we will count the total, the average, the area using our mower. Then we can count the carbon credit.
Oh, I see. And that way you can track it.
We can track it. Yes.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
So a picture speaks 1,000 words. So I'm going to go grab this, and then can I hold it and you can point it out?
Yeah.
What are we looking at right here? And tell us about how you developed this, Eli.
Okay. Yes. I think the core part of the robot lawnmower is the brain. There's some AI chip inside. Yeah. Maybe you cannot.
It's on the charger. That's what this piece is right here.
Yeah. This is a charger. This is a charger.
Okay.
And it every time it draw out of the battery power, it will automatically go to the charging station.
Okay.
To recharge.
It's like a Roomba.
Like Roomba on your backyard.
So
you do not need to take, even notice you are mowing.
Wow.
Besmo will take care of all the mowing jobs.
That's incredible. And these are in the wild. You're actually selling these now.
Yes. We're already selling it now.
Amazing.
And it's the only.
I'm going to set this down here.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah.
So help us understand a little bit about how you came up with the idea originally.
Yeah, actually, my parents, have a home, and usually I will do some garden work.
Yeah.
When I'm back to my home.
So you get back to work and say, all right.
Yeah, and a lot of work mowing, cleaning the lawn, and also maybe take care of the weed, right? So there's a lot of work in the lawn in my home. Yeah, so whenever I'm back in my house, it will take a lot of time, for me to do the garden work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I'm studying robotics in the University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I'm dreaming of being an entrepreneur. So I'm thinking about what product I will bring to the market and what company I will start. So when I know it's pinpoint to do housework in the garden, I know that it should be a good start.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, because my parents can use that instead of using the push mower.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it will give my parents more free time to enjoy the cup of coffee.
It's funny how technology has the ability to change our lives.
Yeah.
So Eli, were you always interested in robotics, even as a kid?
Yes. In my kids, I love to watch some iRobot, some movie, Star Trek. Yeah. So there are lots of science fiction movie inspire me to want to make a robot on my own. Yeah. In the future. Yeah.
Cool.
So my dream is I can build a robot to bring everywhere and to bring into every household to help people's daily life to make it more easier.
Yeah,
This is my dream.
It's incredible. Well, you got to meet Tom Chi of At One Ventures. There was a number of other VCs here today.
Yeah, I meet a lot of VCs.
You're currently raising around right now?
Yeah, I'm raising the seed plus round. Yeah.
And so where can folks learn more? So if they're investors and they want to get involved, or if they're customers and they want to buy one of these really cool Bestmo products, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, they can check the website, bestmo.com.
Bestmo.com.
Yeah, then they
Check
can
it out.
Yeah, please check out.
Yeah.
You can reach out to us. Yeah, also you can search the LinkedIn Bestmo. You can find our page on the LinkedIn. And you can reach out to us.
And there might be some room left in the round if you act now.
Yes. Our this round only 2 million quota left. Yeah, so please quick.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Eli, great to have you on.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nick.
Congratulations on your
Thank you.
traction.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cheers. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Silicon Zombies. We've got Joseph Kwong from Even Recharge, who's doing amazing work in the environmental sustainability tech space. So big shout out to our friend Nikki, who's hosting this amazing summit today. So Joseph, tell us a little bit about what you're building.
Okay, yeah, so we built this little transportable compact, 8 by 10 unit, built out of a container.
Yeah, okay.
Right, 10-foot container. And we have, basically it's a solar powered energy storage unit.
Wow.
Right, so we have been deploying this as an EV charging station, mostly in the Central Valley.
Yeah.
So we have several units in Bakersfield, in California City, and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and also this is, kind of a general purpose energy storage unit.
General
So
purpose
we-
energy.
Yeah.
Are you guys interested in staying in that space or maybe moving to B2B as well? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we are trying to, having more commercial application,
Sure.
such as a coffee kiosk, a security surveillance booth, and this little model is showing that, right? So we have an AI video surveillance camera, and then also has a very comfortable air-conditioned 8 by 10 office.
I see.
So that could be used for security guard, as a guard shed.
Wow. So
or-
what originally gave you the idea that this was something that could be important to bring to the market?
Yeah, actually my original idea is really geared for EV charging.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
But understanding, the infrastructure cost, the time to market, and all those things. So we kind of go into the totally off-grid solution.
Yeah.
So that's why we built this solar power energy storage unit.
That's really
for
smart.
that. Yeah.
It's interesting because we create something that we think is going to be the end product, but in
Yes.
reality, you pivot, you change.
You just have to keep
There's
pivoting
competitive
to meet the
landscapes,
market.
macroeconomic changes, but this is really cool.
Thank you.
So, what do you think? What's the next big hurdle for the company? How can the zombie community be helpful? Are you raising a round? Are you looking for new customers? If so, who are those ideal customers?
Yeah. So we are raising money because we are basically changing our business model from one-time sales to a recurring revenue model.
Very smart.
So we want to. Right now we are raising capital, maybe $1 to $2 million, to build up a whole bunch of this, so we could do a listing model, a rental model for the security market, well as for people who want to start up their small business, so they could buy a kind of a coffee kiosk to run as a small business.
Business in a box.
Yeah, business in a box. It's a turnkey system that people do not need to know anything, and then just a one-time course, and
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Thank you.
So is there a website that folks can learn more?
Yes. Please go to our website, evenrecharge.com.
Okay. Evenrecharge.com.
Yep.
Well, we'll be sure to include those in the show notes. And
Oh, thank you so much.
This is so cool. Do you have the other one, the smaller one too?
Oh yeah.
I love models. These are so cool.
This is something I could put in my pocket.
Yeah.
Right. So
Look at that. It's got the Giants on there. So that way let's go Giants.
Yeah. Right.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
And so these are easy to deploy.
Oh yeah. I could actually I deploy all this by myself.
Yeah.
One person. Right. So this one has a built-in hydraulic lift.
Really?
So that I could actually under remote control, I
Yeah.
could lift this up off my trailer.
Really?
And then drop it on my trailer, go to the destination and then just reverse the process and then just land on the parking space all within 10 minutes.
All in 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, so like the one we deployed in California City, it took me 10 minutes and then people already lining up, start to charge.
This could be great for like disaster recovery sites like
Yeah.
FEMA, maybe
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it could be a good energy source by itself.
Yeah.
But we also hope people could leverage the interior so they could do some other purpose.
What if you could put some wheels on the bottom and it can kind of go deliver itself? Is that crazy? Maybe in the future iterations.
It's not. Yeah. Actually, the way how we control the trailer onto the unit, right now we are doing all kind of
it's
more
manual, of course.
Yeah. But we are trying to do it automated next time, right?
Yeah.
So it would be, make it much easier.
Sure.
to
We
deploy.
learn by doing. So.
Yep.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Well, Joseph from Even Recharging, thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate you coming
Thank you so
on,
much.
and we wish you luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.